Hello everyone, this is your professor once again, Professor Danny Kabulay for the course Accounting Information Systems. And we are currently still in Chapter 7 and this is video lecture number 14. So for this particular occasion, we will be talking about still on production and conversion cost, okay? So let's talk about documents in batch production system. So, meron tayong sales forecast. Kailangan kasi yung mga companies, no, they need to predict, how much can they sell in a particular period, let's say 1 month or 1 week. So whether you are a fast food outlet or you're selling cosmetics or you're selling cars or perhaps if you're talking about services like how many clients can you accommodate in 1 month, or for example, if you are a service company like a laundry shop, ilang customers, or maybe if you like to put it, how many kilos of laundry can you process or can you service in a particular day, week, or month? So this feature of every company to predict how much you will produce, you will serve. This is essential when you want to forecast your sales or revenues, kung magkano kikitain mo. Kasi kung alam mo yung gusto mong kitain, then alam mo kung ilang produkto ang dapat mong ibenta. Kung alam mo kung ilang produkto ang dapat mong ibenta, then alam mo rin kung ilan ang dapat pinuproduce ng factory mo. Okay? So you work backwards. So therefore, you have to come up with what you call a production schedule. So this is part of your production plan, and you need some degree of authorization also. Kasi who is authorizing you to produce that quantity? Very important yan. Kasi kung minsan, companies tend to overproduce. I remember there was a factory in Bulacan, gumagawa sila ng sabon. Nagkaroon sila ng overproduction. At wala namang ganun kalaking demand for soap. So ang nangyari, yung mga sabon na bulok kasi they overproduced and they overstocked. Mababa lang ang demand. Especially now in a pandemic, can you imagine, nagsarado ang mga spa, nagsarado ang mga restaurants, and dahil marami nagsarang companies o maraming hindi muna operational kasi hindi pinapayagan ng IATF, can you imagine yung mga inventory nila doon, yung mga pagkain, yung mga ingredients, yung mga chemicals, marami doon na bulok na. Okay? Kasi they overstock. So, especially during this pandemic, you need to forecast in a very conservative manner. Ibig sabihin, huwag masyadong aggressive yung forecasting. Conservative lang dapat. Okay? Hinay-hinay lang. Kasi we're still in a pandemic, whether we like it or not. Maybe it will take a few more months before tayo talaga mag-really open up, no, in the economy. Then you have the Bill of Materials, or BOM. This specifies the types and quantities of the raw materials and sub-assemblies used to produce a single finished good unit. No? So, for example, may produkto ka. Your product is, let's say, it's a food, no? 'Di ba? Bumibili ba kayo ng mga nakapack na longganisa? 'Di ba ang laman nun isang dosena na longganisa per pack, yung mga ano ba yung mga favorite brands nyo? Okay? So, each time you produce that unit, no, one pack, um, ano yung mga raw materials to be able to come up with one pack of longganisa? Siyempre, kailangan mo ng giniling, kailangan mo ng bawang, kailangan mo ng suka, kailangan mo ng mga ingredients. At saka yung casing. Saan nilalagay yung longganisa? Tapos tinatali siya, di ba? Tapos ginugupit siya. Tapos yung packing, no? You need that. So, those are the things you need so you can produce one unit. And you're talking about one pack, that's one unit. Because they're sold in packs, okay? In the grocery. So, that's the bill of materials. Ini-specify doon, ilang packs ang kailangan mo to produce. Okay? Kasi, you will have to backtrack. Like, if you want to produce, let's say, 1,000 packs of longganisa per day, ilang kilong karne yun? Ilang kilong bawang yon? Ilang kilong sibuyas yon? Ilang litrong suka, toyo, at iba pang ingredients ang kailangan mo? At preservative. Ilang metro na casing ang kailangan mo. Kasi you need casing for that eh. No? Yung, doon natin nilalagay yung pinapalamanan ng karne. Okay? At ilang pirasong packaging materials ang kailangan mo. So you need the bill of materials. Ito yung listahan. Pag sinabing bill of materials, yun yung listahan ng mga materials na kailangan mo para makaproduce ng ganyang quantity. And then you divide it, that's gonna be your production per unit. Okay? Yan. Now, yung tinatawag natin na route sheet, anong ibig sabihin nun? Details the production path a particular batch will take in the manufacturing process. So, syempre, kung balik tayo sa example natin, longganisa, so syempre, after na mailabas natin sa stock room o sa mga freezer yung ating mga ingredients, ano ba yung step-by-step na procedure para makaproduce ng isang pakete ng longganisa? So, that is what you call the route sheet. Saan siya pupunta? Okay? Siyempre, pupunta muna sa washing area, lahat ng ingredients, huhugasan. Kailangan malinis. Okay? Rinsing, no? Tapos, pupunta na siya sa cutting area. So, lahat yung mga dapat putulin, puputulin na doon. Or grating area, kasi they're grated. Okay? And then, siyempre, longganisa yan. So, mixing area. You mix all the ingredients. There's the mixing area. And then, after the mixing area, what's next? You put in the seasoning, no? Seasoning and then mixing again. And then what else? Punta tayo doon sa molding. Okay? You need to mold them and then you have to now get ready with the casing. Okay? So, parang tubing yun yung ginagamit nila, no? So, you have to put them in a tube, no? Para ipasok mo siya dun sa casing ng longganisa. And then, tying, tinatali. Okay? So, whether they're tied manually or tied by a machine, that's still one of the steps. And then finally, packing na. You put them in the pack. Let's say 12 pieces per pack. So that's done by the machine. Okay? And then the conveyor seals, the machine seals the packs and they're passed onto the conveyor onto the cartons. Kasi nilalagay yan sa mga cartons and then they're being frozen. Okay? Kasi kailangan to preserve the freshness of the meat, you have to put them at a particular temperature. Kasi pag mali yung temperature, masyadong mataas yung temperature, mabubulok yung longganisa. Mangangamoy siya. So it has to be kept at a low temperature, almost freezing, para ma-preserve yung freshness ng meat. Then they're shipped now to the different outlets, kung mga groceries, or kung meron tayong mga institutional buyers. Okay? Now, kailangan, importante, sa route sheet, naka-allocate dun yung time. Like, for this particular station, ilang minuto dyan. Dito sa station na to, ilang minuto. So, we know exactly. So, the whole production process, we know exactly the total production time per batch. Okay? And then, so you would calculate how many batches can you really finish in one day. Okay? Bihira naman yung factory na 24/7. Usually, they work only 8 hours. Kung may overtime man, maybe 2 hours more. Okay? Then the work order, this uses the bill of materials and route sheet to specify the exact materials and production processes for each batch. Then you have the move ticket. This records work done in each work center. So para makausad siya sa susunod na step, kailangan nire-record natin yon, okay? Para alam natin ano yung natapos. So this is good for audit trail, okay? Para malaman natin na dumaan talaga dyan, okay? Kasi minsan baka pag shortcut, magka-problema tayo, okay? Materials requisition, this authorizes the inventory warehouse to release raw materials for use in the production process. Of course, kung ano yung ginagamit natin sa production, yan dahil sa ating mga ni-requisition, sa ating mga ni-request sa ating stockroom or warehouse. Okay? So, in production planning and control, very important, review lang natin uli. Dapat meron tayong sales forecast. Then, alam natin yung ating inventory status report kasi kung kulang na ang ating inventory sa stockroom, we need to order. Remember, economic order quantity. So, this could be your raw materials and other operational requirements. And then, there are some requirements that you need to fulfill like documents or processes under production scheduling, the work orders, the move tickets, the materials requisitioning, and the open work orders. And then, for your work centers, the job tickets, that goes to cost accounting, time cards to payroll, and completed move tickets to your production plan and control. Now, the finished product goes to the warehouse, okay? And then, for your inventory control, the status report of raw materials and finished goods goes to production planning and control, and the journal voucher to the general ledger. So, dyan pumupunta yung mga records natin, okay? You see the flow? Now, let's talk about the cost accounting system. This records the financial effects of the events occurring in the production process. Ano ba mga nagaganap doon? Nire-record natin kasi bawat activity may cost. Okay? When you do packing, may cost yan. When you do the cutting, may cost yan. Lalong-lalo na kung may wastage. Pag may wastage, may spoilage, may nasayang, cost yan. Kaya in the factory or in the production process, it's very important that we espouse zero wastage. Okay? No mistakes, no errors, walang spoilage. Then we get to use everything 100% in production. Zero wastage is the ideal. But kung minsan, hindi talaga maiwasan yan. Hindi maiwasan yan. For example, bigyan kita ng concrete example. Nagluluto ba kayo ng French fries? Nagluluto ako. Kumuha ka ng 1 kilong patatas. 1 kilo. So that means 1,000 grams. Siyempre, babalatan mo yan. Hindi mo naman ipiprito ng buo yung patatas. Pero pag natapos na yung patatas, kikiluhin mo yung French fries na niluto mo. Okay? 1 kilo ba? Hindi. Chances are, yung 1 kilo, 1,000 grams, nagiging 600 grams na lang. Bakit? Kasi maybe 10 grams could be, 200 grams could be yung balat. Kasi you have to peel them. Unless, of course, you want to do it country style na you retain the peeling, no? You can do the cuts, no? French fries cuts sa iyong patatas nang hindi mo tinatanggal ang balat. Pwede yon. Kasi sa KFC, di ba ganun sila? They retain the skin of the potatoes. Okay? And then, of course, pag frinay mo yan, magsishrink. Magsishrink yan. Gumagaan siya dahil nag-shrink. So, hindi na rin yan 800 grams. Yan ay magiging 600 grams na lang. Imagine from 1,000, naging 600 na lang. So, that 400 grams na nawala, remember nung binili mo yung patatas, 1 kilo. Ang binayaran mo, 1 kilo. Pero ang finished product mo, 600 grams lang. Okay? Siyempre, may mga reject, may mga yung pinagbalatan, yung shrinkage. Okay? So, siyempre, may patatas din na bulok, tatanggalin mo yung bulok. So, yung mga tinanggal mo na bulok, yan, cost din yun. Okay? So that's exactly what I mean. So if you're a cost accountant, be very conscious about wastages, spoilage, breakages, because all of that will eat into your profit. Okay? Hindi naman nangyayari yung zero wastage eh. It's very, very ideal, but it's almost impossible because of realities. Okay? You have to, accept that those are realities. The records are updated as materials and labor are used also, no? Now, what are the elements of cost accounting system? First, you have inventory control. Importante na walang pilferage, walang nagnanakaw sa production, walang nagnanakaw sa warehouse, sa stock room. Sa finished product, walang nang uumit ng finished products also. Kuminsan kasi sa production, like kung pagkain yung ginagawa natin. Like sa kusina, no, sa restaurant. Kumakain yung mga kusinero ng French fries o kumakain sila ng steak o ng hamburger. Ang in-order sa restaurant, 10 orders. Magluluto sila ng 11. Yung pang 11, para sa kusinero, merienda niya. Bawal yun. That is a kind of pilferage. Okay? So take note That's why inventory control. So, the inventory in the warehouse, that's your raw materials. Pero pag dinala mo na yun, let's say yan sa restaurant, niluluto na siya, prepare na siya, yan yung ating work in progress or work in process. Of course, bago siya i-serve, tapos kinain ng waiter o kinain ng kusinero, finished product na yon. Okay? So, pilferage, yung pagnanakaw, pwede siyang mangyari sa stock room, pwede siyang mangyari sa kusina, pwede rin siyang mangyari sa restaurant mismo, yung finished product. Okay? So, that's why, what controls are you going to put in place in this restaurant para walang pilferage na magaganap? Pilferage is a kind of fraud, okay, perpetrated by employees. And then you have to understand the different work centers. Saan yung mga cost centers na tinatawag. Okay? So you have to be guided by certain standards. And these are what you call cost control measures. So in any industry, cost control is very important. Whether you are in a service industry or you're into production, importante na pinapababa natin yung cost. Why? Pag mababa ang cost of production natin, lumalaki ang ating gross margin, therefore lumalaki rin ang ating operating profit or net income. That means, cost is key. It's pivotal to you becoming a profitable organization. Okay? Pag masyado malaki ang wastage, malaki ang cost, maliit lang ang tubo. Or in some cases, negative. Okay? So, very important din na tandaan natin yung ating mga control points which we are, discussing in slide number 30. So, nandiyan na naman tayo sa segregation of duties. So, no one person should be in complete control of a transaction or process. Otherwise, he might be tempted. We know that the exception here is kapag napakaliit ng negosyo, you cannot afford segregation of duties, right? Okay? Supervision. So, we need to supervise the work of a staff, so we ensure that it is produced at the right quality and the right quantity, and there's no pilferage. Okay? Accounting records, that means all the records that are intact, all the processes, the finished products are all documented, everything is transparent. Okay? And then independent verification. You should be able to reconcile certain figures, no? So, pwede ba nating i-reconcile ang ating inventory at ang ating cost of sales? Yes. Yes, we can, no? Kasi pag halimbawa, alam natin na ito ang cost of sales natin, pero bakit yung inventory natin masyadong depleted? So that means there is a gap, there is a discrepancy. Okay? So meron tayong mga winidraw sa stockroom na hindi natin nilagay sa production. Ano nangyari doon? Inuwi ba siya ng mga empleyado? Or na-waste ba siya? O itinapon ba siya? Yan. So they were not documented kasi meron tayong nakitang discrepancy. Every time you say discrepancy, you ask the question, why is this happening? Okay? Diyan na nagkakaroon ng finding sa mga auditors, internal auditors. Okay? So let's talk about internal controls. Transaction authorizations like work orders, move tickets, materials requisition, these are all important and they serve as part of internal control. Without these documents, it's difficult to do an audit trail. Okay? Now, segregation of duties, again, we've discussed this in previous chapters, very important. So we know that no person is in complete control of a process or transaction. Why is that so? So there will be no opportunity for fraud. Okay? Supervision should be comprehensive and it should be conducted by a competent supervisor. Pag hindi competent yung supervisor mo, chami-chami siya sa mga tauhan niya, wala. Hindi siya makakapag-check ng trabaho correctly. Malulusutan siya. Okay? So, bawal ang supervisor na walang alam. Kaya ka promote ng supervisor so you can check the work of your subordinates. Okay? So, access control, who has access to the bodega, who has access to the stockroom, it cannot be anybody, kasi kung labas-pasok ang mga empleyado sa ating bodega, ay mananakawan ng ating storekeeper. Okay? Who has access to the production area? Only authorized personnel. Kung ito ay restaurant, kusinero lang ang pwedeng pumasok sa kusina. Hindi pwedeng pumasok diyan ang waiter, hindi pwedeng pumasok diyan ang mga iba pang personnel. Kasi kung manakawan yung kusina, sila ang responsible. Okay? That's why who has access. So you need to control access to certain areas or certain documents or certain stocks. Okay? And then of course, we have accounting records. Marami tayong accounting records na ginagamit. Okay? So you have most of accounting records are pre-numbered. That means they're accountable forms. So you have your work orders, your cost sheets, your job tickets. Of course, in the warehouse, we have the bin cards. Okay? So every ingredient there, every item, every raw material has a bin card. So the storekeeper would keep track of how far can you go below before you start to reorder again. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you another exercise. So this now is the just-in-time exercise. But first, let me ask you, do you know the meaning of JIT or just-in-time? JIT is an inventory management system wherein the product is produced or purchased just a few hours before it is needed, given just the right lead time. The main objective is to reduce the holding cost and other costs associated with acquisition. Hence, EOQ, which we learned earlier, and JIT are very much related or linked. I'll give an example. Ay, yung mga products ng Nike, Benetton, or even Armani, or even Gucci, no? Mga luxury goods, or even, ano ba yung mga favorite brands nyo? Mango, Sarah, okay? Mga designer labels yan, okay? Of course, there's also Bench, no? But I'm not sure about Bench, but I know the global brands that I mentioned earlier, they are all using JIT, just-in-time technology or system. So that means yung particular design na to, itong binili ko nito, ginagawa lang ito when it is needed. Pag may nag-order, pag walang nag-order, hindi sila magpo-produce. Kasi kung nag-stock ka naman ganitong maraming materials, hindi ka naman pala magpo-produce, may holding cost yan. Okay? So they only produce materials, they only order the materials when it is needed. And they observe the lead time. Okay? So yun ang ibig sabihin nun. So bawal magtambak ng napakaraming inventaryo kasi when you do that, there's a very high holding cost. Patay ka dyan. Okay? So that means it's gonna eat up your profits. Okay? So let's look at an example. Nako, look at picture that on slide number 39. Mukhang masarap ba? Ginugutom ba kayo? So there's a lot of food there. This is the kind of food you will see in a famous restaurant brand called TGI Fridays. Okay? So TGI Fridays is an American brand. Okay? Actually, the headquarters is in Carlson Hospitality Worldwide, Carlson Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Nakarating na ako dyan kasi dati nila akong general manager dun sa kanilang Carlson office sa Minnesota. Ako po ay naging pre-opening GM ng maraming hotels nila. So they own hotels worldwide and they also own restaurant chains. So one of the restaurant chains that they own is TGI Fridays. And of course, we know that TGI Fridays is here in the Philippines. It's owned by Mr. William Stelton. He is a Filipino, by the way, and he owns several brands also like Italianis. He also has what else is here? Oh, Fish and Company. Okay, Modern Shanghai. I think there are about 18 brands in the group. No, they call it the Bistro Group. Let's read the case. This interesting case. Okay, so this is called stocking up. TGI Fridays is one of the 17 restaurant concepts of Bistro Group of Restaurants. They have a huge warehouse in Makati. Napakalaki. Napakalaki ng kanilang warehouse. Malaki pa sa bahay. Ganun kalaki yung... Meron silang mga walk-in freezers na kasing laki ng bahay. Okay? So itong mga freezers na to, doon nakalagay yung mga frozen items like maybe ice cream or mga spare ribs, mga steak, etc. Okay? Mga hot dogs, frankfurters. Why are they stocking so much? Kasi meron silang kontrata for TGI Philippines to operate. They have this franchise contract na bibili lang sila ng mga ingredients nila sa US. Hindi sila pwedeng bumili sa ibang bansa or locally. Yeah, kasama yun sa kanilang pinirmahang kontrata. Although pwede naman bumili locally, kaya lang magpapaalam ka. But of course, yung quality, iba. Kasi siyempre pag galing sa States yung karne, iba yung lasa eh. Pag galing dito local, yung beef dito, matigas. Galing ng Batangas, matigas. Pero yung beef na galing ng US, super lambot, super sarap, super malinamnam. So, ganyan ang kontrata nila. They can only buy in the US. So if you buy all these ingredients that you see in TGI Fridays, aba, hindi ka naman pwedeng mag-angkat buwan-buwan. Magastos yun. Pagdating sa freight cost o yung isasakay mo sa barko, buwan-buwan may inaabangan ka. So they only order in batches. So every 6 months sila umu-order. Kaya yung ini-stock nila dyan sa kanilang napakalaking warehouse ay good for 6 months. See? That has been the practice. Okay? Now, so they stock up ingredients, good for 6 months. Imported raw material. Pero syempre yung mga gulay, like mga sibuyas, patatas, locally na yan. Locally sourced. Pero yung mga meats, mga seafoods, they're all from the US. Okay? So it usually takes 2 to 3 months to ship meats and other prime ingredients from the US. Ganun siya katagal. Kasi syempre, yung barko, no, dadaan yan sa maraming ports, dadaan sa maraming bansa, bago siya makarating ng Pilipinas. Say, coming from the US, so pwedeng ang ruta niya, Pacific Ocean, going to South China Sea or West Philippine Sea, then Manila. Or kung galing siya ng New York, okay, dadaan siya ng Atlantic Ocean, going to the Mediterranean, going to Suez Canal, and then going to the Indian Ocean, and then West Philippine Sea, and then Manila. So, that is going to be the route. Depende kung saan manggagaling. Okay? So, here are the questions I want you to answer in the comment section in YouTube. Is the company practicing JIT? What do you think? Yes or no lang yan. Then, cite one advantage and one disadvantage. Remember, one advantage and one disadvantage of their inventory management system. What is good about what they're doing and what is bad about what they're doing. Finally, the third question you need to answer in this batch, what suggestion can you make to improve their inventory management system? Okay? Ayan. So, medyo mahirap itong mga tanong na to. Kaya pag-isipang mabuti kung anong isasagot, huwag kagad sasagot. You need to research, you need to, think hard. And then look at the system that they're using. Understand it well. Okay? So I'll see you around for the last video for this week. We're going to talk about video lecture number 15. Coming up soon. Bye!